Well, it's like 2:30 a.m. I can't get to sleep, and I haven't uploaded in nearly a month. So I figured it's time I do something I can just do real quick and get out there for you guys. And since I'm basically like 80% a FNAF channel now, I figured I'd delve a little bit into the backstory behind a clear obsession I have with a certain FNAF character who goes by the name of Afton. Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, for like a year and a half now, I've had this running theory that sparked from, Evan just not showing up in any form after he died, and how that was weird for a character where everyone else has kind of done that. And, that sort of led to a rabbit hole, like a mad spiral. And eventually I came up with this idea that he would, come back in Security Breach or at any other point. And yeah, that's essentially what my obsession is. And I suppose because, I just want to make a video for you guys, I figured I'd try and explain my general thought here. So yeah, like I said, it started a long time ago. Like, we're talking a year and a half ago in December, and I was visiting some relatives, and I just thought, hey, there's this character that's part of the Afton family who, unlike the others that we know of, hasn't really come back in any way. And yeah, that, like I said, that led me to think. And then I noticed that, hey, there are these hints in all the other games to come after 4 that have something to do with him. And then Scott went and, while making like teasers for Security Breach and all that, has made things that I could internally trace back to this character that we know as Evan Afton. And needless to say, I was pretty wrong. I still have yet to finish playing the entirety of Security Breach. I have played it once on Cringe O'Clock, and I have done 2 more endings for my channel, one of which is already edited and ready to go up. I just have kind of been holding off on doing that because anything related to that game kind of just gives me this feeling of self-consciousness, especially after an issue I ran into in the one that isn't edited yet. But I'm sure at some point I'll be able to get past that. I'm also currently editing another video for you guys right now, and that's probably going to be the one that's going to go up after this. So look forward to that. And, but that's not what this is about. Basically, I haven't played the entirety of Security Breach. I don't know the plot of every single ending or anything like that. So I don't really know that much about what's hinted at, what's possibly confirmed or anything, but what I do know, and this is because my friend told me, knowing that it wasn't really any sort of, like, spoiler, is that the mad rambling I went on about for, like, a year at the time, that Evan was gonna somehow return in the game, was wrong, and that there was basically nothing related to him in Security Breach whatsoever. Apart from the popular community theory that Gregory is a robot with Evan's soul in it, which I can't really have a stance on currently because, like I said, I haven't finished the game. And if anything I say begins to sound redundant or loose in track, as if, like, I didn't really plan beforehand, it's because I didn't. I was literally just laying in my bed, unable to sleep, and then I suddenly got this energy burst, so I was like, yeah, I'll record this video, especially because I haven't uploaded in nearly a month. But yeah, like I said, this obsession led to a year-long theory that Evan would be coming back in Security Breach, and naturally, I was wrong. And by stepping back and looking at everything I had said and done and uploaded, I've sort of come to sort of accept defeat in a way. I stepped back and saw that everything I had said was kind of crazy, at least to most people. It sort of felt like I had been completely misguided by this one random fact, and then out of confirmation bias formed a year-long theory that made sense at the time, but now I see as insane, or somehow, some way. Option 2 was that Scott had seen a nobody talking about something and has decided to ultimately go against everything I said. And, putting that possibility aside, I have realized that, I sort of have been basically rambling on so confidently, only to end up not even really being right in any way. Apart from, I don't know, if the theory that Gregory is a robot and all is correct, I guess I was right in some way, but other than that, as far as I know, I wasn't right at all. And yeah, so naturally during the year where I was believing in this so strongly, I had told my friend about it, and the more they listened to what I was saying, the more they started to agree with me, and both of us kind of believe still that even if it wasn't in Security Breach, that Evan's gonna come back in some way. And I guess somewhere deep down I do still believe that, but for the most part I believe that Scott has kind of just left this character to remain in the shadows forever and never play a major role. But to do what I set out to do and explain why I still sort of have this obsession with this character, I would have to go to the logbook. A lot of people probably know about the Five Nights at Freddy's survival logbook and all that, and to sort of explain where this comes into the story, there are certain bits and pieces. Basically, there are three people talking within the logbook. There's Michael, who writes with a red pen. There's Cassidy, who speaks through this faded version of that same text that's a little hard to read at times. And then there's this third voice that seems to be talking by altering the actual text in the book. Like, areas where text should be normally, like a survey, there's pieces replaced in perfect print with what is seemingly just like responses to questions, a human thought. And this struck me as really odd because Well, why would anyone be able to do that? Why would a spirit be able to do that? And then I learned that, there is a character who could maybe do something like that, or rather two characters, that being the shadow animatronics. And then I learned that the song Schubert's Serenade, which is heavily associated with FNAF 3 for being the Shadow Bonnie minigame theme, I learned that the only other time in the entire franchise that song was used was during the scene in which Evan was seen talking to his plushies and them fading out, and I believe flatlining at the end. And so therefore him dying. And internally I thought that this meant there has to be a connection, because even though Scott has started working with musicians since FNAF 3 and 4, that if he wanted to use that theme again, then he could. He could have talked to the musicians he was working with, such as Leon Riskin, and arranged for a sort of recreation of the song to be made for the situation. But no, nothing like that ever happened. And like I said, that has led me to believe that the characters must be related in some way. And both of the shadow animatronics seem to just be reality warping in nature. They don't abide by any physics, and anything around them seems to bend to their will. And when I realized this, and that Evan in the logbook was talking through some impossible method, this led me to believe that this meant Evan could bend reality, and that he must be related to the shadows in some way. And given all the nightmares he had, it seems to match him with the fact that the shadows seem to be made of pure agony, which is described as a black blood-like substance. And yeah, I'm sure anyone listening could see where these pieces were made. Before Security Breach even came out and debunked my theory, I made one last video called Finalizing My Theory Before Security Breach, and yeah, I was both somewhat disappointed but also reasonably accepting in the fact that that video didn't get many views, and I'm sure this one won't really either. I mean, it's kind of just a random upload, and not a very relevant one at that, but I recommend, if you haven't seen that video yet, that you give it a listen, because it's basically me in the last time I was ever confident in my thought relating to this, and you can sort of you get to see my sort of thought pattern behind it. But to explain it for those of you who don't want to do that, basically, I still do, like I said before, I still kind of do deep down believe in the fact that Evan could return in some way. I mean, the whole reason I was so confident in this is because what I had believed I had figured out. I mean, with all these thoughts in my head that he should be related to the shadows and can theoretically, manipulate reality, it's like, in my brain, it's like Evan is a traumatized schizophrenic or something of that nature, and he can bend reality and apparently haunt people's dreams. So in my mind, he really should be the scariest character in the franchise, beyond what William or any other animatronic could ever hope to be. But yeah, now that it has passed, Security Breach is like months old. by now. The hype around it has sort of mostly died down, but true FNAF fans are still discussing it. And after all this time, I look back on this year and a half that has happened since I first sparked this thought, and I realize, yeah, I was kind of just a madman rambling over probably a couple small details and connected them unreasonably to a lot of other things, and I now look back and realize that, Scott would probably never give Evan as a character a major role, because even if he is still persisting after death and does connect to the shadows in some way and have reality-bending powers, none of it matters, because a human being that doesn't resemble any form of animatronic cannot be an antagonist in a FNAF game. Or at the very least, that's what it seems. The only real exception has been Vanessa, the night guard, but she's not scary, and she was probably put in the game as an enemy that could jump scare you more or less as a joke than anything else. But to have like a human looking antagonist that you're supposed to take seriously, regardless of how scary they are, they just don't really have a place in FNAF. Like I said, Vanessa as a night guard being able to jump scare you is probably more of a joke than anything, and obviously we know that Vanny is like a human in a suit, but at least in a suit, the person looks like an animatronic and can therefore work in the FNAF formula. What I'm saying is that, in my mind, if Evan were to return as an antagonist, he wouldn't look like an animatronic, and he as a role would have to be taken more seriously than, say, Vanessa the Night Guard as a joke, and yeah, it doesn't really have any room in FNAF. So, deep down, I think, yeah, it's entirely possible that Evan could receive a role in a FNAF game in the future, given that Scott has yet to really resolve his story 100%, but I also know deep down now that it can't really be a major role because there's no room for something like that, and I don't think Scott would ever purposefully do something like that for a game. And, in the months that have passed since Security Breach has come out, and like I said, my confidence in this thought has kind of died down. I don't really know where I'm at with this thought anymore. I still am obsessed with the character, because in my mind there's a lot of potential where he could go, and what subtle hints possibly suggest that he could be responsible for / related to or whatever. But like I said, there's no room for him to have a major role, at least not in the way that I was thinking. So, yeah. And I've been going on for like 20 minutes now about this, and I don't know, in my brain, I don't really know where else to go with this. So, I guess in my mind, that's really my explanation for my year and a half of mad ramblings about this random FNAF character known as Evan Afton. Just a sudden realization that happened a year and a half ago about one or two small details that I unreasonably connected to the point where I was confidently sure he would be returning in Security Breach, only to be proven wrong, and my confidence having dimmed down greatly since then, but still somewhere I think it's still possible. And yeah, that's basically the general summary of that and everything I've said in the past 20 minutes right there. But I suppose I'll leave it there and call it done, topic finished, and all that. I'm probably gonna put this together over some just general gameplay of a horror-ish game, and then put this up real quick. And like I said, it was mostly just because I couldn't sleep, and I don't know, I also haven't uploaded in a month. So yeah, that was sort of just me attempting, at least, to explain my ongoing obsession with this FNAF character, and yeah, I hope somehow you enjoyed this video, and yeah, like I said, uploads are coming soon. I have a playthrough of me getting my second ending of Security Breach practically ready to go, and I'm also in the process of editing another video, which is probably what's gonna be the first upload after this one. So yeah, I suppose I'll see you all another time, and goodbye everybody.